Did you know that counting today, there are 90 days left in 2019? Are you aligned to kick ass in quarter four? Who can you become in this last 90 days of the year? Are you going to step into your most powerful version of yourself to finish out the year strong? That's what we're going to talk about today on the Max Potential Habits podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Amanda Barrientez, the founder of NFA Coaching and the person who brings you tips, tools, and inspirational interviews every week to help you optimize your habits so you can thrive in life and business. First, I want to start with a shout out to Modern Property Solutions. Thank you for giving me an awesome review. You say invaluable information. Absolutely love the Max Potential Habits podcast. Dr. Amanda brings a great perspective on personal and business growth on this podcast and covers a bit of both. I didn't read that right. Covers a lot of a bit of both. I'm truly a better, more productive person and entrepreneur after the information shared there. Thank you for leaving a review. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of the tribe. You kick ass. Thank you, Modern Property Solutions. All right, so we're going to talk about how to rock quarter four with a NFA 90-day action plan today. So I love this topic because if you've heard of Parkinson's law, the law states that the work expands to fill the time allotted. So what happens is if you set a goal in January, and let's say you come to the end of January and you're like, I kind of worked on stuff, I kind of didn't. Often it didn't work because you thought, well, I have all year. I have an entire year to create my goals. So quarter four to me is really powerful because most people have lived by the pleasure pain principle where they sought pleasure in the moment and decided to put off the things that they knew that they really could do to advance their business or their life. And so quarter four comes down to that crunch moment. And I think it's really important if you can implement all year a 90-day plan, but now is really the power time. Now is really where you get to make stuff happen. If you had big lofty goals for 2019, now is your time to implement a strategic plan to make it happen. So today I want to map out, and this is actually from this really cool book, and I'm in conversation with Brian Morin about potentially coming on the show to do a talk, an interview. So there's a shout out to you, Brian, and requesting you to come. It's called the 12-week year, and I've actually found this probably first quarter, and it is a powerful book. They talk about how to get more done in 12 weeks than others do in 12 months, and it's absolutely true. If you focus on the one thing, just one thing that can advance you to the next level for the year, you have so much more power and potential. That's another great resource. There's a book called The One Thing, the surprisingly simple truth behind extraordinary results, and that is by Gary Keller. And in that book, he talks about focusing on one thing, taking it to the next level by focusing on one thing. And in the 12-week year, Brian Morin and Michael Lennington talk about how to move your business forward by focusing on no more than 1 to 3 things for a 12-week period. And this is perfect because we've got 90 days left in quarter four if you're listening to this on October 3rd today when this is being released. I want to give you some really specific steps. So what I do is I map out my entire year at the beginning of the year. Usually at the end of December, I take a few days, and I actually want to do a retreat. So if anyone's interested in coming to my incredible house in Boulder, Colorado to do a 2-day intensive, DM me because I'm looking for 6 people who want to come and work with me for 2 intensive days to make 2020 the most powerful year possible, where we map out a year-long vision and then we break it down into 90-day plans. So DM me if you're interested. I'm kind of putting the feelers out to see who's interested. And if that's you, I'd love to work with you. So DM me. So what I do is I map out the entire year at the beginning of the end of December to start January 1st, and I do it into chunks of 90-day plans. And it's in that 90 days, I look at an overarching view. I go, okay, in those 90 days, what are the 1 to 3 things that I'm going to do to move it forward in that 90-day period to reach my overarching year-long vision and my lifelong vision for my business, which I've said many times on here is to reach 5 million people through NFA coaching and create $1 million a year global business with online courses, podcasts, books, one-on-one coaching, workshops, all of those things. So that's my big vision. But of course, that's not going to happen in a year. And it definitely wasn't going to happen in my first year of business. So I break it down and I go, okay, if that's my big, long goal, what do I want to create in the next year? Then I break that down to 90-day plans. So tips from this book, and if you get the book, it's on page 94, 95, 96. They talk about doing an effective plan structure and 5 criteria to create your 90-day plan. The first one is that you want to make your goals specific and measurable. So for each goal or tactic that you want to be sure you quantify and qualify what success looks like. How many calls will you make? How many people will you contact? How many podcast episodes will you release? Be specific so you can measure it and track it over time. Number 2, state your goals positively. So you want to focus on what's positive for you. So for example, rather than focusing on a 2% error rate, you would target a 90% accuracy rate. So state your goals positively. Don't say, I'm not going to do this. Instead say, here's what I'm committed to doing. So state them in the affirmative. Number 3, ensure they are a realistic stretch. So you want to be right in that stretch zone. If you set goals that are really lofty and fantastical, your brain already knows that that's BS. It goes, yeah, right, Amanda, you're not going to make $5 million in the next year when you were on food stamps 3 years ago and you're just learning the ropes of online business and entrepreneurship, right? Your brain just goes, that's BS, and you won't even get into strategic action at all. So you want to make sure that you're creating realistic goals, but you want them to be stretch goals. You want them to be pushing you out of your comfort zone, but not so far that you don't believe it's possible. So I like to tell people to do 10% stretches from where you are today. For example, if you're sitting on the couch and you're a complete couch potato and all of a sudden you're like, I'm gonna go run a marathon in 12 weeks. Probably not going to happen. It's doable, but it might be more realistic to go, I'm going to run a 10K, or I'm committed to running 4 days a week for the next 12 weeks, and then I'll see if I want to enroll in if I want to register for a marathon, something like that. So set them as realistic stretch goals. Criteria 4, assign accountability. So this applies to people who are executing as a part of a team, but you can also find accountability partners, right? So let's say you're an entrepreneur and you're a solopreneur and you want to take your business to the next level by building your list, your online list. Let's say you have a product or service you can sell online and you want to build your list to a 10,000 in the next 90 days. How are you going to do that? How are you going to be accountable? Who are you going to get to mentor you to do that? And how can you find an accountability partner? I have an incredible group called NFA Biz Builders. It's every week we get together online for 1 hour. It's $97 a month. Go straight to my website, go to nfacoaching.com, work with me, and you'll find it there. It's NFA Business Builders or Biz Builders. And it's a group accountability, coming in and sharing our fears, doubts, accomplishments. I do group coaching online. It's awesome. So check that out. That's a great way to have accountability. You could also find an accountability partner at a meetup group someone who's an entrepreneur. There's all kinds of stuff online that you can find. And last, criteria 5, be time bound. So you must have a deadline, and that is the power of a 90-day plan in general already, that there is a deadline. But in that 90 days, every week, every month, have a deadline. Go, okay, I'm going to accomplish this by what date, at what time, and be accountable to yourself and track and measure as you're going throughout the month. If you want support here, plug into the NFA Business Builders. It's super inexpensive. Reach out to me for a consult. I love working with people to build their business one-on-one. That's my jam. That's what I do. So I'm so glad you're here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Leave a review, share this, blast it out with the hashtag NFA coaching, and leave me some comments and let me know how this podcast is landing for you. I hope you have an incredible week this week where you thrive and feel alive.